Welcome to another Wichita Toy Train Club Lionel product review. I'm Zach Rabb. Behind the camera we have Chris, and today we're going to take a look at Lionel's new 484 Northerns. Before we go in depth on Lionel's newest rendition of 484s, a little bit of history about the ones we got here. We have a Rock Island 484. There's not a whole lot I can necessarily find on the Rock Island stuff. I'm sure you guys can find that out. Just do a quick Google search. The Meteor one is probably more recognizable. 484, it is the Frisco's, the St. Louis and San Francisco Railway steam locomotive that was pulled their Meteor train. This locomotive is still preserved in Tulsa, Oklahoma. These were originally cataloged in Lionel's 2019 Volume 2 catalog. The locomotives were actually a 3751 class tooling. Lionel did some Santa Fe Northerns, 484s, and in their true Lionel fashion, they painted up some other 484s in the same tooling. That way they get every last mile out of that, which gives us some really cool, different looking steam locomotives. So these aren't going to represent exactly what the Rock Island or the Frisco had, but they are very close and they're still a full scale locomotive. Some of the basic features you'll find on these steam locomotives is with all Lionel's new high-end steam locomotives. They have a legacy control, which includes the being able to run it with legacy, TMCC, or even conventionally. It's also got Bluetooth on board, which allows you to run it with your Lion Chief app on your smartphone, or use the Lionel Universal Remote. The locomotives also feature two smoke units, one for the main stack and one for the whistle steam smoke effect. They also have all LED lighting along with the Rule 17 lighting on the front headlight, a backup light, and a operating electrocoupler on the rear of the tender. So keep in mind, both of these locomotives come from the same tooling. The tenders are a little different, so we'll definitely look at those really close. But we'll go ahead and take a good look at both paint schemes. So let's go ahead and for a closer look. Now looking at the front of the locomotives here, starting up front, we have a nice looking pilot here with a scale dummy O-scale coupler. This can be changed out in the box with a dummy O-scale coupler, the big lobster claw coupler. That way you can double head the locomotive. Moving on up, or over to the side anyway, we have the air hoses here with some nice red painted details on the side of them. Same thing over here on the Rock Island. Moving up, we have all kinds of different detail with the compressors back behind these shields, and a nice drawbar, or grab iron there. Moving up, we have our LED headlights and number boards across the bottom of each of those. They look very nice. The front of the smoke box does open. That doesn't serve much of a purpose, but you can see inside there if you so wish. It's held in with a magnet, so it doesn't open unless you want it to. Moving on up, we have a nice separately applied bell. The one on the Frisco here has a nice blue cradle and everything, and we have a nice black one over here on the Rock Island. They do both have a metal string that runs all the way back to the cab, so you'll see that as we keep moving backwards. Now looking at the side of the smoke box here, I have them facing each other. That way we can see both sides at the same time of different steam locomotives. On the Frisco, we have all this nice blue looking. We have white walls on the pilot trucks and the drivers as we move down. The little red valves on the cylinders pop. Same thing over here on the Rock Island on the black with some darkened side rods. This is what the darkened side rods look if you ever see that mentioned in the catalog compared to normal polished side rods. Moving along, we can see we have our legible Baldwin builder's plates. Like I said, these were both originally Santa Fe tooling, so these both, for whatever reason, have the same serial number on those. So it's not a correct serial number for the locomotives. Just a note there. Up top here we have a plate for the superheater, and moving up we have the detail for the feed water pump. And on the Frisco you can see the start of that string from the bell going all the way back towards the cab. Now looking at the top of the smoke box here, of course we have the main stack, and below that we have a fan-driven smoke unit. We just load smoke fluids directly down the stack. Good 20 drops is a good way to get it started. Again, with the Santa Fe tooling, in that classic fashion, Santa Fe had a number of different stacks that they put on their 484s. So since it's the same tooling, we get that now with a Frisco engine. So this main stack can get pulled off here. If I can pull that up, it's got a nice O-ring on it. That way it doesn't leak smoke everywhere. And you have the option of that, the normal stack, a extended stack, and they just kind of pop in and out of there, or kind of a curved piece just like this. Moving along here, moving back, we have a kind of a little patch on top of the smoke box. We have number boards that are kind of blocked off. Again, that's for the Santa Fe number boards, and these were marked off for these models here. Here's our wire going all the way back to the cab still. This is kind of loose, and it's got, you know, the occasional eyelet that it goes through, and then just kind of just pokes through the cab. So they kind of might move around and be in different spots. But no worries there. On the Frisco, we have this nice pinstripe all the way around the sand dome, a nice crisp 4500. If we go ahead and take off the top of the sand dome, we have our switches, and we'll go ahead and pop a picture of those up on the screen that you're looking at now. And starting from the top, we have our run program switch, a Bluetooth on-off switch, the main smoke unit on-off switch, and the whistle steam on-off switch. And moving along, we have our pop-off valves right here, and a steam dome with, again, a nice crisp pinstripe all the way around. Moving along here, now we're on the engineer side of the boiler here, and over here we have our whistle. The whistle's got a nice brass paint to it, and so forth. The handrails are also very nice. It's also right here. And that is the antenna for the TMCC legacy sound, so also be very careful picking up this locomotive. You don't want this to ever touch the frame ground. Just keep that in mind. There's also, it's all kind of clustered right here. There's also the throttle linkage right here, along with there's also another cord for the whistle going back towards the cab, which all look very nice. And if you can tell, I don't know if you can from that angle, there is a hole that hides just right behind the whistle, and that's where the smoke comes out for the whistle steam smoke effect. And we'll come over here to that steam dome, and this pops right off. They don't usually come out that easy. The Frisco's, I think, is kind of a pain in the butt to get off sometimes. But that pops right on out, and you can just drop about, again, another 20 drops down there, and that will load the whistle steam smoke unit. That has a magnet on it. That way it doesn't come off unless you're ready for it. It's kind of got another pin, so you got to get it lined up. It pops right down back in there. Moving right on back here, we have the some other appliances on top of the boiler, our dynamo and other such piping and so forth. The top of the cab has two moving vents right on top here, along with a bunch of rivet detail. We have a nice little grab iron kind of across the top of the cab sunscreen here. We have a kind of a little sunscreen, windscreen curtain there. And a nice gray smoke box, all kinds of other piping underneath the walkway here. The walkway is a smooth walkway. It's not perforated or anything crazy like that. We have our little steps on the side and so forth. A nice crisp 5100, along with some other nomenclature on the and kind of the bottom right-hand corner. Back over here on the Frisco, we can see here at the cab, everything's very similar. The top of the cab is very white. And we have Frisco, where the road number is on the Rock Island version. We have the nice white pinstripes here. Nice silver on the firebox here. Some more piping and so forth, and just some plain Jane, nice looking trailing trucks. Back over here on the on this side of the engine, we have what looks like another air compressor, but there are two up front, so I'm not really sure what's going on here. On the engineer side, looks like an injector, but over here looks like another air compressor. I'm sure Santa Fe probably had a reason for that, or I'm just looking at things differently. Coming back down the side of this Frisco engine here, the drive block back there, you can tell, is blue, and there's a lot of blue, and it looks great on this engine. We have the nice polished side rods here, and all this looks great when the locomotive's in operation. We have our white walls around all four drivers on each side. Our rear driver here does have a traction tire on it, and we'll see that later when we flip the engine over. And there's also all kinds of other just molded in details underneath the walkway here, and all of this just looks great. Looking on the inside of the cab here of the Frisco, we can see the whole entire back head is blue. I don't know if that's exactly how the real thing would have been, but that's what we have here. Works easy for Lionel. But we can see there's also all kinds of red painted gauges or valves, and then the gauges with the little pinstripe on there for the needles. All this looks great. You can tell in the middle there on the firebox, the Santa Fe tooling's for an oil burner, so we don't have a flickering firebox. We just kind of have the oil covering over where the doors normally would be. And then also keep in mind when the locomotive is stopped, there are lights in here, so this whole thing does light up when the locomotive is stopped. All right, now looking at the tender for the Frisco Meteor, we can tell this is a coal tender. I don't know where they pulled this tender tooling from exactly, but I think it's the same one they used on all the other coal 484s they offered. Moving along though, we do have 3-axle 6-wheel trucks on the bottom side here with white walls. Everything's blue and looks amazing. We have a nice crisp Meteor down the side here. Again, another number board. We have our little step ladder here, a grab iron. A nice crisp 4500 on the side of the tender, and the rear truck looks just as great as the front truck. Looking at the rear of the tender, right at the bottom here, we have an O-scale electrocoupler, which can be fired from the Legacy remote, TMCC remote, the Line Chief Universal remote, or the Line Chief app. There's all kinds of ways to be able to get to this. You just can't get to it if you're running it conventionally. Moving on, we have a coupler cut bar here, nice separately applied, nice looking ladder, and an LED backup light, along with another, again, crisp 4500. Looking on the top of the tender now, we have a nice real coal load. Again, when Lionel says they used real coal, they really crush up coal and they glue it to the top of the engine. So we have a nice looking coal load here. There's a little ladder here. You guys probably can't see that, no worries. There are nice blue grab irons that just kind of blend in on the top of the water deck over here, along with rivets. We have 3 water hatches. These all do open up separately. I think sometimes they come up at the same time. But only the rear one has the master volume pot for the sounds in the tender. Now on top of the Rock Island tender here, this is just like the Santa Fe oil tenders, so they'll be the same here. We have all kinds of nice details on the top here. We have toolboxes, other different grab irons, piping, oil hatches. None of these open. Again, some toolboxes, another grab iron. And back here we have our water hatches, and again, just like usual, they do open. These two have nothing underneath of them, naturally. And we open up these two back here, we can find, again, the master volume pot for the rail sounds here in the tender. Now looking on the Rock Island tender here, as you can tell, there's all kinds of rivets down the side. This is the same tooling, I think, as the Santa Fe oil burning tender. A nice crisp Rock Island logo here. The same, we got some nice, again, 3-axle 6-wheel trucks. Little detail there in the middle. On the rear here, again, it's a little different, but we have, again, our electrocoupler, some side steps, a nice looking ladder, and an LED backup light. Now looking on the bottom side of the Rock Island here, as I mentioned earlier, we have 2 traction tires on the rear driver. You get two more extra traction tires in the box when you get the locomotive. Here in the middle here we have 4 center rail pickup rollers, all for good center rail electrical contact. We can see we do have some electrical connection here on the rear trailing truck. And as always, it's always a good idea when you get a new locomotive to just lube everything. Everywhere where there's a metal axle going into a bushing, on the trailing truck. If you have some conductive oil, sometimes it's good to put a little bit right there on that metal copper strip. Sometimes that squeaks, and so forth and so on. Just a little bit takes care of everything. And that's the same thing. Conductive oil is good for the center rail pickup rollers as well. And those do like to squeak, so I always hit both sides of them with a little bit of oil and just kind of work that in. And the only other couple spots is where we have our drive axles. You just have to be able to get down there and just do a quick little squeeze. and then of course your side rod bushings all the way down, along with the pilot truck down here. Again, anywhere where there's a metal rolling axle going again through something else that is metal. Now looking at the tender here, again, when you first get this out of the box, same deal. Anywhere where we got a one of these axles going into the bronze bushings and the center rail pickup rollers. But, you know, there's not a whole lot going on the bottom side of here. We have electrocoupler, 2 center rail pickup rollers, and not much else going on. There is the IR sensor for the LCS center track, if you do have that. That's the easiest and quickest way to get these things, the new Legacy stuff loaded into the Legacy system without having the orange module in the box. The other thing to know is with all the new Legacy stuff, they have been providing, we do have 2 tapped holes down here, and in the box you do get a KD scale mounting box that does screw in here with screws. That way you could put a scale coupler on the rear of the locomotive. Looking on the Frisco real quick, some of the other things you couldn't see, they do now put serial numbers on the bottom of all Legacy locomotives. So we have that sticker right here. Over here there is the legal registered trademark Bluetooth symbol that has to be on the product. And on the bottom of the cab over here, you guys can't read any of it. You probably don't need to, but there's all the legal mumbo jumbo for the FCC, again for Bluetooth capability. Okay, we got the locomotive. We've gone through everything on the locomotives. We got them lubed up, got smoke fluid in them, ready to fire up and listen to some of the sounds. We'll start with the Frisco here.
This is the dispatcher. Do you copy? I read you. Over. Start up and get ready to move. Over. Yes, sir. We'll fire her up. Out.
Make sure the smoke's on here. And we'll start up the Rock Island.
This is the dispatcher. Do you copy? I read you. Over. Please start up and stand by. Over. Yes, sir. Start up and stand by. Out.
All right. Might take a minute for some of the smoke features to kick in. We'll go ahead and listen to the Frisco's whistle. And the bell. Because of the string, we know these are hand-rung bells, so that's a nice slow deal for the bell. Let's try the Rock Island. Here's the whistle. Sounds exactly like the UP Big Boys and the last run of the UP FEFs and the last run of the UP Challengers. So they're getting all kinds of use out of that sound clip. Here's the bell. And we'll go through some of the other sounds here real quick.
Tower, my oil's full. Am I cleared to the outbound? Over. Roger that. Take the green. Over. Copy that, dispatcher. I'm green. Out. This is the dispatcher. Please stand by. Over. Roger. Standing by. Out.
Okay, if we can go ahead and fill them up. We'll fill up the Frisco first here. Well, apparently we have some oil fill effects on a coal burning steam locomotive. So you can note that. We'll top off the water. I'll go ahead and pop it in sequence mode here and pull it on out.
Dispatcher, train is moving. Over. Acknowledged. Keep 'em rolling. Out.
Okay, now we'll do the same thing for the Rock Island here, and we'll take them both for our spin around the layout here, and we might go over to our new layout and try some stuff over there too.
My water's full. Over. Affirmative. Out. My oil's full. Over. Copy that. Out. Tower, we're on the move. Over. Roger that. Keep 'em rolling. Out. Waters and a half. We're at slow speed. Out. Out. Clear inbound, over. Thank you, sir. Approaching now. Out. Dispatcher, arrived and in position. Over. Copy that. Welcome back. Out. See you next trip, dispatcher. Out. Dispatcher, we're signing out and going to beans. Out.
So, as mentioned before, these locomotives were originally cataloged in Lionel's 2019 Volume 2 catalog, as we can see here. These locomotives were found on starting on page 20. We'll go ahead and pull that up here. And as we can see, it originally started with all of the paint schemes such as the Frisco Meteor and the Rock Island, which we saw here today. They had another number of other options such as Atlantic Coastline, Frisco, another Frisco engine anyway, Missouri Pacific, and Rio Grande. These all had the same features as the Santa Fe counterparts, which the 3751 tooling is based off of. As we can see here, they had a number of Santa Fe options as well. All these locomotives are got a MSRP of right at $1,600 and a minimum curve of 0.54. As you can see, these locomotives look and sound great. The smoke effects are awesome. The whistle is just a nice sounding whistle. Like I said, they're just an all-around great looking locomotive. Chris, do you have anything else to add?
You pretty much covered it. What I've got to say is that it's a great looking locomotive. My favorite part is the blue paint, because we always just see dark colors on all these steam engines. So the blue is definitely a nice pop and a big change.
It is. I do a lot of Union Pacific, so blue steam locomotive is quite a bit different. Even the black Rock Island looks nice with just the red Rock Island logo on the tender. This concludes our review of the newest rendition of Lionel's 484 Northerns. Be sure to go ahead and give a thumbs up to this video if you liked it or like the locomotives. Leave any comments down below, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to hit the bell, that way you get all the notifications of our product reviews, running train videos, and now layout update videos. Thanks for watching.